So it all comes down to one date, one decision. Right now, it feels like the entire world is holding its breath over this single deadline set by former President Trump. Let's break down exactly what's at stake here.
Just imagine for a second. What if there was a global crisis so close to boiling over that the plans were already drawn up, the targets were all picked out, and the final order was just days away?
Well, here's the thing. This isn't some hypothetical scenario. A major military strike was apparently planned and ready to launch. But then, at the last possible moment, the order came down to stand down. Not to cancel the mission, just to pause it.
So that's where we start, in this really strange state of limbo. A major international crisis has effectively been put on hold. The big question, though, is, for how long? From what sources are saying, plans for a military strike on these absolutely critical Iranian energy sites were in their final stages. I mean, this was an operation ready to go. And then, just like that, everything stopped. But let's be super clear about this. This was not canceled. The operation is still very much on the table, just waiting for the green light.
And you know, that green light, it might depend entirely on one specific date, April 6th. This isn't just another day on the calendar anymore. It's become a deadline with truly global consequences.
We are officially in a countdown. April 6th is the day. It's been singled out as the decision point. It's the moment the world is going to find out if the United States moves forward with a strike or, pulls back from the brink.
So you might be thinking, okay, why should someone outside of the Middle East really be concerned about this? Well, because the shockwaves from this one decision would be felt in literally every corner of the globe.
The whole answer really comes down to this tiny strip of water that has immense power, the Strait of Hormuz. It is one of the most critical energy choke points on the entire planet.
Just think about this for a second. Nearly a fifth, a full 20% of the world's entire oil supply sails right through this one narrow passage. So any disruption here doesn't just cause a little ripple, it causes a tsunami.
And here's what that tsunami would probably look like. A military strike could disrupt that flow, right? That means an immediate spike in fuel prices for all of us, worldwide. That kind of uncertainty would almost certainly send financial markets tumbling. And this is all before we even get to the very real danger of military retaliation, which could just escalate the whole conflict overnight.
You see, Iran's energy infrastructure is its economic lifeline. So a strike isn't just a military move, it's a deliberate economic attack. And it's designed to send those shockwaves through global markets. It's a powerful message for sure, but one that comes with an enormous amount of risk.
Which, of course, brings us to the biggest puzzle in all of this. If the strike was planned, if it was ready to go, why the delay? Why kind of telegraph your move by setting a public deadline?
Is it possible this pause is a final, fleeting window for diplomacy? A last chance to de-escalate before a line is crossed that you just can't uncross?
Or is there a more cynical reason? Could this be a tactical pause, not for peace, but to get military assets into position for an even larger, more devastating operation?
And there's a third possibility here. What if the uncertainty itself is the weapon? Is this delay all about choosing the absolute perfect moment to maximize psychological and economic pressure on Iran and its allies, all without firing a single shot? And so as that clock ticks down to April 6th, every capital city, every newsroom, every trading floor, they're all watching, just trying to decipher what the next move is going to be.
The financial markets are totally on edge, reacting to every little rumor. Governments are scrambling to get their contingency plans ready. And you can bet that behind closed doors, the most critical decisions are being weighed right now.
What's really become clear is that April 6th has been framed as way more than just a deadline. It's being presented as a potential turning point, one that's going to pivot the world either towards de-escalation or down a much, much more dangerous path.
And yeah, that clock is ticking down, and with every single second that passes, the pressure and the stakes just keep getting higher for everyone involved.
So as this deadline gets closer and closer, the question is actually pretty simple. Is this pause a final chance for peace, or is this just the quiet before the storm?
We need to talk about a developing story that has absolutely massive global implications. A presidential ultimatum has been issued, a clock has officially started ticking on the fate of millions, and right now, the entire world is holding its breath.
We are closer to a major conflict than we have been in years. The situation is incredibly volatile, and just one single decision in the next few days could absolutely ignite a crisis that would be felt in every single corner of the globe.
So the big question is, how did we even get here? I mean, a crisis of this magnitude doesn't just pop up overnight. It's really the result of a rapid and, frankly, an incredibly dangerous escalation that's been building behind the scenes for months. And what's really shocking is just how fast this all went downhill. It really kicked off in early 2026, with the US and Israel intensifying joint military pressure on Iran. By the middle of the year, that pressure led to retaliations, which in turn led to rising casualties and spiraling instability. And well, that brings us right here, to today, where direct US military action doesn't feel like a possibility anymore. It feels like a terrifying inevitability.
Okay, and this all brings us to the absolute heart of the matter, that April 6th deadline. This is the one moment in time the entire world is watching. It's a ticking clock. It's going to determine whether we see a fragile path to peace or the start of a catastrophic war.
April 6th, 2026. I want you to remember this date. This is not just another day on the calendar. It is the moment the world is watching, the moment when everything could change in an instant.
So what does this deadline really mean? This is crucial. April 6th isn't an explicit order to attack. It's the end of a temporary 10-day pause on military strikes that were already planned and approved. You see, President Trump granted this fragile window for one last desperate attempt at diplomacy. And that actually makes the situation even more precarious, because if these talks fail, the strikes could resume immediately. So yeah, this sets the stage for an unbelievably tense, behind-the-scenes battle. On one side, you've got these frantic diplomatic efforts to de-escalate, and on the other, the constant looming threat of overwhelming military force, just ready to be unleashed. But what's happening behind closed doors is, well, it's a storm of confusion and mistrust. Publicly, the US is claiming that talks are progressing, that there might be a solution, but at the same time, reports from Iran suggest they're denying the very nature of these negotiations, and they're maintaining this defiant stance. So we're seeing two completely different, totally conflicting stories, and that's only fueling the anxiety around the world. So the question for all of us becomes, what is really happening behind those closed doors? Is this a genuine path to peace? Or is this just the final, terrifying countdown to a conflict that we simply can't walk back from? Okay, so why should any of this matter to you, wherever you are? Because you have to make no mistake about it. This is not just some regional standoff. The outcome of this crisis has a very real and potentially very high price for every single one of us. And here's why. Iran's energy infrastructure is a cornerstone of the global oil supply. A lot of that oil passes through the critical Strait of Hormuz. So targeting these facilities would instantly disrupt crucial exports. That threatens to trigger massive spikes in fuel prices at every single gas pump in the world. We're talking about a potential global economic shock, chaos in the markets, and severe disruptions to the trade routes that literally power our world. And this isn't just some future possibility. The economic impact is already here. Just the threat of conflict has already caused oil prices to surge. Global markets, as you know, they hate uncertainty. And right now, because of this one deadline, the entire global economy is balanced on a knife's edge. So this all leads to the final critical question: what on earth happens next? The world is standing at a historic fork in the road, with two completely different futures just hanging on this one decision.
The two scenarios, they just couldn't be more clear. In one, diplomacy actually succeeds. A last-minute breakthrough is reached, military escalation is called off, and the region gets a chance to stabilize. But in the second scenario, the talks fail. The pause expires, military strikes begin, and the world risks being dragged into a full-scale conflict with absolutely devastating global consequences.
You know, the stakes are almost impossibly high. This isn't just about one conflict. A decision of this magnitude doesn't just affect one region, it sets a precedent for the entire world. It's not an exaggeration to say this decision could genuinely reshape the global order for decades to come.
So as we watch the final hours of this countdown tick away, it is so crucial to understand what is at stake. April 6th isn't just another date. It's not just a deadline. It's a moment that could truly change history.
To understand what happens next, and to stay ahead of the stories that are shaping our world, make sure you subscribe. We'll be right here to break down global events just like this one as they unfold.
Subscribe to my channel.